Hello everybody, Reggie Time here, and today we are going to be looking at the sample I played because yesterday I ticked over the 1 million hand mark since creating this database around probably exactly almost 2 years ago, maybe slightly less than 2 years. I think maybe it was July 2022 when I switched over to Poker Tracker. I think it was somewhere around there. It's when I started playing these 20NL 5 max games on iPoker. And looking forward to delving into some key statistics, figuring out what I've done well, what I've not done too well. Please hit the like and comment. I've really been looking forward to making this video. I'd like this video to do relatively well on views. I'd love it to get upwards of 300, which is pretty big for me these days. So please do like, comment, etc. The first thing I want to say is I'm obviously really happy with my results. This graph, well, let's be honest, it's pretty damn sexy. My win rate overall is 7.08 big blinds 100, slightly above EV over that sample by half a big blind. Who cares? It's not that much of a difference. It goes to show how, like, over a big sample, EV really does kind of like group together. If we're looking at these key stats initially, the ones I'm pleased with, the ones I'm not pleased with, but we'll get into these a bit deeper later on, is my 2-bet pre-flop and fold. This is where we raise pre-flop and we get face 3-bet. I don't think this number's high enough at 58.73. And I'm going to demonstrate why I don't think that number is high enough right now. So here we are in GTO Wizard. So I mostly play 5 max games, so we're starting from the hijack. And we're going to find that whatever position we face a 3-bet in, our fold to 3-bet is probably going to be, theoretically, at least it's going to be over like 58% in nearly every spot. So we've raised hijack and cut off 3-betters, back to the hijack, fold 62%. Say, for example, the button 3-betters. Get back to hijack, fold 58% or 57%. Say the big blind 3-betters, fold 58%. And that's like from our, probably our tightest position. We're still folding around 57-58% of range, which is what we're coming up with in here. So you're like, oh, okay, that's about right. What are you complaining about, Rich? Why does this need to be higher? Well, when we get into these later spots, say we open cutoff, button 3-betters. Again, 58%. Why are you complaining, Reg? That's about right. It's when we get to these spots. So button opens, small blind 3-bets, 64% all of a sudden. Say we open the button and big blind 3-bets. 60%. And then we get into, say, we open small blind, button 3-bets, 58%. So you're saying, right, Reg, you're about right with those numbers. And I am. It's hard to argue that theoretically I'm folding kind of the correct amount. Let's try a different one. Cut off and say small blind 3-bets. We're getting up to 64% folds here now. So, yeah, they're all about right. But my issue is when theoretically my fold to 3-bet is around right at about 58%, we need to look at the range of hands that our villains are 3-betting. So we open cutoff. Button 3-bets. This is button's 3-bet range here. In the games we play at the micro stakes, do we really think that button is 3-betting 11%? Yeah, some good regs are. Of course they are. Is your average 22/15 with an overall 3-bet of 6, which is pretty common stats for our games we play in? Are they finding these? No, they're not. Then we get to, say, button. Small blind's meant to be 3-betting 15% of the time. Do we think in our games this is happening? And again, not even close. Not even close. Are they finding a lot of these 3-bet 10-8 suited? No one's finding that from the small blind. Queen Jack off, King 10 off. king 6 suited, ace 6 suited. They're not finding them. I'll tell you what they are finding. They're finding this here, this top corner here, with the ace jack off, the ace jack suited. They're finding the king jack suited. They're not finding the king 9, the queen 9, the jack 9. It's just not happening. So when they're not finding those hands, surely we need to be finding more folds versus 3-bets. The only reason mine is so high is because it's so low is because in the games I play, quite often people use really inappropriate 3-bet sizes, so you just have to call. There's so many whales just clicking 3-bets. But I think like if you were to do this in your own sample, see what your fold to 3-bet is, and if it's not approaching 60%, you're probably getting murdered when you're the pre-flop caller in 3-bet pots, almost certainly, because you're just going to be running into nutted ranges too often with marginal hands. Because, as I say, in my opinion, the 3-bets aren't being found. Let's use an even more common one. Big blind 3-bets. In the games we play, when we open the button, do we really think that your average 25 and L, as we said, 22/17/7 or whatever, finding all these 3-bets? Absolutely not. Because they're mostly just being linear with their 3-bets. People aren't finding, the vast majority of players are not finding these polarized 3-bets. They're just up in this top corner here. They're going to be missing a lot of these. And ace queen off maybe is going to be close to pure. King queen off is going to be more than that. Maybe ace 10 suited, king jack suited, going to be a little bit more. And all these are just probably being folded too often or defended by call. So that's my first takeaway, is I want to have my fold versus 3-bet when I'm the pre-flop opener being even higher than it is. And I suspect that this is going to be higher than most of the people watching this video. There's one lad I talk with quite a lot. His is down at, say, I think it's 38%. He's a winning player in the games, but in my opinion, it's way too low. Way too low. We've discussed it many times. He is trying to improve it, but it's slow going for him. And I think I'm a bit of an outlier in this because, you know, we just get too obsessed with theory. Like, you know, most of us these days will go into GTO Wizard and we'll defend a particular combo that we're supposed to defend in theory. So we've opened the button. This is 3-bet. So on the button, our calling range here is meant to be all these hands. So we're like, oh, okay, well, I can defend these hands in theory. And then when we get slaughtered post-flop, it's like, oh, well, never mind. It was just a cooler because we're supposed to have these hands. We're supposed to get, you know, we're supposed to have ace 9 suited and then lose a relatively big pot when we flop an ace, etc. And it's just bullshit. It's just absolute bullshit. We can't rely on going into GTO Wizard, in my opinion, and checking our hands and saying, okay, we played that fine in theory, so it's all good. It doesn't matter. It's just a cooler, etc. Games are tough. And games are a little bit tough, don't get me wrong, but we can't just use GTO Wizard as a crutch. Oh, my combo's in there, so it's fine. You know, you get to the river and you've got this much of it left and you're meant to call with it. So, yeah, that's fine. You know, the fact that you're not supposed to have it a lot of the time, and you're certainly not supposed to have it versus people who are 3-bet in different ranges, is a fact that's lost on so many people. Most of the time when we're playing in our micro-stakes games, and I mean up to 50 now, which is where I play, the game tree's fucked pre-flop. It's just completely fucked because we're defending this range versus the big blind 3-bet, or we're defending close to this range versus the big blind 3-bet, but the big blind doesn't have a lot of this shit. So immediately the game tree is beyond fucked, and it's fucked beyond repair if you are then going to try and play close to theory for the rest of the hand and try and defend appropriately versus aggression, trying to bluff appropriately versus people who end up playing too passively with hands that should be continuing to seek value or what have you. So yeah, that's the first thing I wanted to touch on, was how I think I can improve in 3-bet pots. I do really well in 3-bet pots overall. We'll quickly look at, we'll run a filter for 3-bet plus. So as we can see, my results are really good in 3-bet pots. So I do well in them, but I just feel I can do like so much better. My win rate is like obviously huge. Yours will be 2, you would imagine, unless you completely stink at the game. But as I said, I just think we can do, or I can do so much better by not ignoring theory, but understanding that this is a theoretical call or this is a theoretical 4-bet. But how out of line is my villain. So, for example, we decide we want to 4-bet from the button. So our 4-bet range is going to be these hands here. But if our opponent doesn't have a lot of these hands to begin with, to just have him fold them when we 4-bet, then 4-betting hands like Queen 8 suited, King 5 suited, etc., are just not going to work too well for us. It just isn't going to work too well. Or calling hands like King 6 suited, calling hands like 10-8 suited. I mean, King Jack off evening there's a call, but not for me, thank you very much. A lot of these hands just aren't going to perform very well, like Jack 9 suited, Queen 9 suited, Ace 3 suited, etc. All these calls are just not going to perform as well versus ranges that are much stronger than theory. Like if Ace 3 suited is basically mixing call here, because it isn't always calling, it's obviously in there folding too. So it's not there. I don't understand why that's in there. So let's have a look at some of these mixes. That'll be a better way of doing it, because I don't know why. It's because it's 4-betting sometimes. Ace 3 suited is going to be a pure continue. Ignore me, I'm being a bit of a fucking idiot there. But look at these mix calls, like 10-8 suited's a mix. If theory's mixing it, we should be folding it, in my opinion. 9-8 suited's a mix. If theory's mixing it, we should be folding it, unless we're up against players who we think are getting very close to playing theoretically perfectly pre-flop. And some of those people will exist, because it's been really well studied, but most of them won't be playing 20 and out, 25 and out, because they'll just be, if they're playing theoretically perfect pre-flop, they're going to be playing higher stakes. I think some of the ones that can sneak in there a bit more often are what Landon Tice calls a Fantastic Four, because they just get you in far less trouble post-flop than, say, a King 6 suited does, or, say, what else in there? Queen 9 suited. Some of these hands where you're just going to be dominated way too often by like Ace Queen, King Queen, etc. 10-8 suited, you're going to be dominated by like Ace 10, King 8 suited, things like that. So the hands that are like relatively easily dominated by top of opponent's range, they just don't do very well, because most of the time, in my opinion, your average reg is just going to be way more orientated towards 3-betting a linear fashion. So these hands just do a lot better. 8, 7, 7, 6, 6, 5, 5, 4 just have a lot more equity versus like Ace King, Ace Queen, King Queen, than your King Jack offs do, than your Queen 9 suited do, etc., than your Ace 9 suited do, Ace Jack off. They're all like, when they're dominated, you're in really bad shape, but these hands just are far less dominated. You know, a lot of the time you're going to be having around maybe 30% equity pre-flop, whereas these hands quite often you can be down in the, you know, in that sub 30% equity regions. So I think you need to be really careful with the hand you're defending. Yeah, we have to defend versus 3-bets, especially when people are going linear and they have a lot of the Ace King, Ace Queen, King, a lot of the unpaired stuff. But just be careful with your defense. You know, you don't really want this region, in my opinion, Ace Jack, King Queen, Queen Jack, that's just a pure fold, but I'm sure many of you are calling. Like the like offsuit stuff, really, you don't really want. I'm sure I see many people in my game defending Ace 10 off, King 10 off, Queen 10 off, etc. And in my opinion, if you want to like try and hit correct frequencies, you're better off calling these ones at a higher frequency and pitching these ones close to pure. So like we largely, in my opinion, want to lean towards folding with anything that's always mixing. But if you do want to have some like calls, some hands that are mixing, these are the better ones to do it with, in my opinion. I could be talking bollocks there. Please feel free to challenge me, but I don't think I'm too far off with that. I'm sure quite a lot of you are defending a lot of these hands too, like Ace Deuce suited. I'm sure many of you are defending that. Ace 6 suited. Sure, a lot of you are probably like pure calling the Ace 8s and the Ace 7 suited when you should be mixing between 3-bet and call, 4-bet and call. And I suspect these will probably perform better as a 4-bet, a pure 4-bet, rather than mixing 3-bet and call, because sometimes we can 3-bet these hands. We can get good hands to fold. We can just make Ace Jack off 4, for example, as 3-bet. We can just make the hands that have reasonable equity, like King Queen off fold. So I would say probably just call mostly with your your hands that are less likely to be dominated, and a lot of these hands that have reasonable blocking qualities. King Queen off would be another one probably. Start flicking some of them more into a 4-bet, because people do 3-bet linear and then they'll make really tight folds because of the environment we're in. They just see 4-bets and they're like, well, okay, I know what 4-bet means in these games. So I'm just going to fold these types of hands. So we say raise, say we do go for the 4-bet. Big blind is supposed to defend. This is looking too messy now. Why is this looking messy? This is big blind's entire range, sorry. So if we just go with the hands I meant to defend with the call, so many of these are just going to fold. So they're 3-bet these from the big blind. Do you really think that the Queen Jack suit into Queen 10 suit? They're not. They're just going to be folding, aren't they? Queen 9 suit is just going to be folding. Now, they're only low frequency calls anyway, but I imagine they're going to nip into the pure folds. And when we've got Ace 7 suited and we get Queen Jack suited to fold, it's probably a pretty reasonable result, because we're just denying plenty of equity there. So yeah, I don't want to get into it too fast. This video will end up being way too long, but it's just areas where I think I can improve. I probably should play a lot more 4-bet from the button than I do. It's when we're sitting here looking at it in theory and then actually executing, it's not easy. It's a big jump, isn't it? We all think we can do it though. When you're in game, you've got 3 or 4 tables, maybe even more than that, blinking at you. If you're playing speed poker, your mind's just racing constantly. Unless you're really well drilled, you're going to make a bunch of mistakes. So what do I want to get into next? That was it. I wanted to get into by position, didn't I? So we'll clear these filters and go into the position tab. So you can see by position areas I think I can make a big improvement, a pretty big improvement, and I am improving on these. Is my button raise first in 36%. I think that needs to be up at 40. It's getting there now though. This is based on like a million hands, and this was 34% for the longest time. I imagine now this is probably around 40%. This needs to be above 40%, and we're getting there with that too, but it's looking low over this sample. Then we look at things that I also want to look at is like my 3-bet pre-flop success. I think that's an important thing to look at. And the thing that struck out at me when I was looking at this is that our pre-flop 3-bet success is just absurdly low. This is what population's doing. So I'm playing in a 5-max game. So I'm 3-betting the cutoff, and I can only be 3-betting it versus middle position. It's the only seat I can 3-bet from. And you can see my 3-bet pre-flop is only 28%. I mean, we've just seen they're meant to be folding around 58% from here, and they're folding 28%. So what does that mean for how we should construct our cutoff ranges? We should be nowhere near theory, in my opinion. And we need to be a lot tighter than theory. If people are like way over defending, then what's theory doing here? When we're, say, if we just reset this, so middle position has opened, we're supposed to be 3-betting, even just like a 9% range. What's my 3-bet in this position? Do we have that stat? My 3-bet is 7%, so I'm under 3-betting as it is. I'm missing frequency by around 2%, but I'm only getting 28% folds, when, as we've discovered, when we 3-bet, we should be getting 62% folds, and we're not. So they are definitely over defending. Let me just make sure I'm getting this right. So they're only folding 72% of the time, and they should be folding 62%. So does that mean we should, how does that mean we should adjust our 3-betting range? And this is going to be as much of a lesson for me as it is for you. If they're under folding versus 3-bets, and we know population under 4-betting, and by Christ they are under 4-betting, which ones of these do we start ditching, and do we start making any more of them pure? And I think based on this, I think we start get rid of the ones that are like low frequency. These ones probably unplayable, when we're just going to be going to the flop too often because they're just not going to perform that well in terms of raw equity. And then probably start adding more ace, jack off, king, queen off, just stuff that's got real high card strength. Because let's have a look at the types of hands we think villains are going to be continuing with that shouldn't. So from the folding region, I imagine most players, when they're opening these pocket pairs, the vast majority of players are going to be calling them pure. And they shouldn't be. They're going to be probably not folding King Queen off very often when it's just a pure fold. Queen Jack suited, probably not folding that. So you have all these hands that are just going to have like pretty good equity. So I think we just need to increase our high card equity, our high card strength, because if we're 3-betting, say, this region here at some frequency, the 5-4 through 7-6 and the 8-7, etc., and then not folding hands like Ace Jack offsuit, which is meant to fold pure, King Queen off, which is meant to fold pure, Queen Jack suited, then we're just up against a range that just has a lot of strength against that particular portion of our range. So we now go back to our 3-bet range, we probably want to focus much more on this high card strength, like Ace Jack off. Maybe we even start throwing King Jack off in there more because they're not folding Queen Jack suited, etc. I don't know. I probably need to give this a bit more thought. A lot of this is me just freestyling what we should be doing against theory, if you will. So I think we probably should be throwing out the King 6 and the King 5 suited, throw out the Ace 6 suited, throw out the Ace 7 suited, and just have more like raw high card strength. Ace Jack off, definitely just do that pure, probably. King Queen off, definitely probably just do that pure. Probably maybe start mixing in some King Jack offsuit, just so we're doing pretty well against like the pocket 5s, the pocket 6s, the pocket 7s at call, rather than having King 5 and King 6, which are dominated by 5s and 6s, have more of the King Jack, which are now in position and have much better equity against those hands. So that's kind of what I'm thinking in this region. And again, I am just spitballing here. I haven't done any preparation for this video because it was only this morning that I realised that I actually ticked over the 1 million hand mark. So what else is there to look at here in this bit here? Our win-win soft flops. My big blind win-win soft flop is fucking diabolical. Now, everyone's big blind win-win soft flop is going to be like a significant outlier compared to the rest of their sample, but this is way too low. This is a mixture of me not 3-betting enough from the big blind. As you can see, my 3-bet pre-flop is only 6.5%, and I think no matter from where you put yourself against all positions, so where like this is opening here, where the hell isn't big blind in there? All right, no, it's going to be in there in a minute. So even versus hijack, big blind is meant to be 3-betting 7% of the time, and that's going to be like the probably lowest factor raise. Versus cutoff, big blind is meant to be 3-betting 10%. Versus button, we've already looked, it's 14%. Versus small blind, 20%. So the fact that my 3-bet is down at 6.68% is pathetic. That significantly needs improvement. But before I can improve that, I need to improve my play in 3-bet pots. I need to just drill a shitload of spots where the big blind and with 3-bet versus various positions. This takes time too. You can't just drill it for half an hour or an hour and be like, oh, crack that. You need to do thousands and thousands of hands of drilling in like very specific spots. I'd probably start with just drill tens of thousands and thousands of hands of me in position, blind versus blind, when I have 3-bet pre-flop, and say we've range bet the flop, because that's the easy part. 3-bet pre, range bet, then you get to the turn, now what? So I was talking to my friend Tommy yesterday. He set me up with a couple of nice 3-bet pot drills. It's inspired me to set some more up in common spots where I know I play badly. And blind versus blind is definitely an area where I can make some significant gains, and that is obvious because of this. But 3-bet success is really high. Like this is like the real outlier of this. It's not as high as it should be, probably, because as we've seen, people should be folding even more. When we 3-bet from the big blind, any position should be folding at least around 60%. We saw just over 60%. So people are still under folding, but it's significantly higher that people are folding when they're like late position and 3-betting, then they're almost never folding when they're middle position and facing a 3-bet. So that's, again, something I can work on. There's fucking loads I can work on. I'm fully aware that during this video I have rambled quite a lot, and it's because of my complete lack of preparation. But overall, I'm just really pleased with how it's gone, and really pleased that we can identify loads and loads and loads of stuff still to work on. The areas of immediate concern, which I've already started working on, as we talked about, are my button raise first in, not high enough. Cut off raise first in, not quite high enough. These are fine. Middle position probably should be a little bit higher in theory, I suspect. Middle position opening range should be 21%. I play in a relatively high rake environment. I'm reaching 18%, so I'm not that far out, and the ones that are missing are the ones that probably have the lowest EV. And a lot of the time, by the time we're not getting the correct amount of folds, they probably just become natural folds anyway, in my opinion, which is why it is a little bit lower. If anything, I think I could reduce this number to, say, 16% and probably have better results, even though my win rate in this position is really good. I think I could possibly cut out some of these opens. I mean, the games I play, I think opening hands like 10-8 suited are just a torch. I think maybe we could think about opening the pure connectors a bit more and missing out on these like one gappers, like the Jack 9 suiteds, Queen 8 suiteds. A lot of these, like King 5, King 6, King 7, they just really do not perform very well. A lot of the time, I end up just going multi-way with them and just not doing very well. Whereas there's some hands that are just going to play a lot better multi-way, I would imagine. But again, we are talking just fractions here, nothing to get too excited about. Cut off definitely could be open more. But again, like the steel success, this is the last thing I really want to talk about. Is like steel success from the cutoff, just 28%. Steel success from the button, just 36%. I don't know if we should be incentivized to increase our raise frequency. I was thinking about this in the car this morning on the way taking my mate Quinn to college. And I think possibly something to play with would be from cutoff and button in the games I play, probably sticking somewhere near my raise first in frequencies, but increasing my raise size to 3 big blinds, because I know we don't face enough 3 bets. Population significantly under 3 bets. So by having slightly tighter than theoretical ranges and opening for a bigger size, say opening 3x or even opening like 2.7x, etc., that could be something to work on. I'm always trying to think about how can I do things slightly differently, but then I'd never really give myself enough time to see if it works out better or not. I ultimately end up just going back to, just go back to 2.5x red, you know what's going on there, etc. So yeah, I've definitely lost myself a little bit here. But essentially, even though I've rambled a fair bit, and there's obviously some leaks in my game, some of them probably quite big, it's really hard to argue with the fact that over 1 million hand sample, we have a really strong, robust win rate that I can rely on. I actually think this is disappointing to an extent, given the games I play, and I think this could be higher. I think that quite possibly 10 big blinds 100 is, and maybe should be, achievable. Now, if we look at the different stakes I've played, did we look at that? I can't remember. If we look at this by stake, my win rate is slightly higher in my main game. It's up at 8.4 big to 100. Even again, I think that could be a bit higher. The other game I started playing recently, 50NL 5 max, sample size is way too insignificant. This will not be my win rate in this game. I've been 2 and 3 tabling and game selecting very heavily. And long term, I don't know if that's sustainable, because that's going to take too long to reach the long term. But if I end up trying to play 4 to 6 tables, this win rate will come down significantly. And then we get into the law of diminishing returns. And then it's is this game better for me than this one? Because this is going to have been done mostly over between 4 to 6 tabling, whereas this has been achieved probably 2 to 3 to 4 tabling. So in terms of hourly rate, there's probably not a lot between them. So maybe there's more ego involved in playing this game, but in this game, there's just more like consistent profits to be made. I don't know. I've had a bit of a downswing. It's not showing in this graph because I've filtered the GG out of it because it's like pretty insignificant sample. We'll look at it just for clarity's sake. My GG account is the only one here that's not in that sample. Everywhere else is in the sample. And these are my GG results. So we're still in profits. It's not like I've taken a losing sample out of the graph. We are still in profit on GG. But that the rake is a fair bit higher. I've been playing a lot of those full ring anti games where the swings are just fucking a lot wilder. And I've lost my point on why we're talking about GG now. But yeah, basically, the only reason I've shown that was just to show some clarity that even though GG is not in there, it is still a winning sample there. I just think it's a pretty crummy fucking site, to be honest. So yeah, I think going forward, I think because of that's what I was talking GG for. Because we've had that downswing, I've also had a fair bit of life expense lately. I'm going to probably just play a bit of 20 NL, maybe until the end of the month, and then look at moving back up to 50 NL, depending on a few things. I'm going to keep getting reports from my mate Ryan about how the games are. I don't think they're that good, even though our win rate is 12 bigs in them over a very, very small sample. I don't think they're that good. I think long-term my win rate in that game is going to be 6 bigs. And if it's 6 bigs and my volume is only half of what it is at 20 NL when I'm winning at 8 bigs, then probably in terms of hourly rate, we're not talking a lot of difference. In fact, maybe we're talking the 20 NL game is just a slightly higher hourly for me. Who knows? But anyway, I'm going to leave it in just a moment. But now we've done this sample, and I wanted to build this sample up and then do this video because I really enjoy coaching. Now, it's very clear from this video that my theoretical knowledge isn't pristine. It's not even close to pristine. But my experience, my proven ability to just win in these games, and also my proven ability, well, not proven ability because I've rarely asked people for testimonials, but I know my ability to help other players improve their game. Not all become winning players, but they either begin to lose a lot less or realise, fuck, poker's hard, maybe it's not for me, or I'll just continue playing recreationally, or I'll play tournaments or whatever. But I have a good track record in helping players improve at poker. And I enjoy doing it, and I miss doing it. I haven't advertised coaching for a long time, and I'm not super advertising it now. But if you are like a losing player and you would like some help with your game, I'm looking for people mostly to talk to. So if you're like a decent player, get in touch with me and we can just talk. And I don't want any money, of course. If you're a losing player and you want some help with your game, please do reach out. I'm very affordable. I don't do it for the money. So it's nice to get an extra, couple of £100 in here and there that I can just treat the granddaughter with or whatever. But I do it because I love talking poker. I love helping people. I love the moment you get when people just they have that light bulb moment. So if you are struggling and losing, you can see now, in case anyone wanted to call me a fraud, it's clear that I'm not. I mean, over 1 million hands, winning at 7 big blinds 100, albeit in soft games. But even when we look at the fast fold games, and winning at 4 bigs over 120,000 hands at 25 and now fast fold. So, I mean, that's a very solid win rate over a not brilliant sample. Don't get me wrong, 120,000 hands. We can't be confident this is our win rate, but it probably is. Maybe it's a bit lower, maybe it's a bit higher, but I think that's reasonable. I beat every single game I play in, and I beat every single game in which the players that I have coached in the past have played in. So if you do want some help, do reach out. My email is beneath the video, or more probably join the Discord, get in contact with me there, and we'll work out something that's affordable for you. And I don't have set prices. I have a minimum price. A maximum price, but I will reduce it for people who I think, it's hard to say, I don't want to word this to sound like a pretentious cunt. For people who I think genuinely can't afford to pay for coaching, but have a real passion for the game, who I think I'll enjoy working with, I will definitely reduce prices. And then if I think someone is not really a good fit. I typically say to them, no, just, you can learn more for free at the minute. And that I usually say that as a polite way of saying to people, look, I think you're a bit of a clown and you may be unhelpable. And trust me, there's fucking plenty of them. They don't want to learn poker, they just want magic beans. So again, this has been a fucking ramble. But yeah, if you want a bit of coaching by a proven winner, and let's face it, this is a proven winner. If you want a bit of coaching and you're playing 15L or below, please do get in touch. And we can sort something out. And if you're a winning player in these games, but you don't really have people to talk about, get in touch again, join the Discord, reach out to me. I'm also looking for people just to do chats with. I was trying to get people in the Discord to do group chats. Nobody wants to do that. It's clearly very, very unpopular. I think what happens sometimes is there's some people come in the group and they are, how do I want to put it? They put other people off. They're too forceful in the way they're talking about. They're not really open to other people's opinions. That just puts other people off. So I think I'm looking to do 5 to 6 hours study a week on calls with people, and I need people to do that with. So yeah, if you've got any interest in studying with me, either as a student who's paying or as someone as like a peer who is equal to me or better, please do get in touch and I would be delighted to hear from you. This has been an incoherent ramble for most of the video, but hopefully some of you have enjoyed it. Hopefully the video gets plenty of comments and some of my potentially stupid comments that I've made during this video, potentially insightful comments I've made during this video, and hopefully it does really well. We'll be back starting next week with some hand review videos again. I've had a very quiet 3 or 4 weeks because I've been watching snooker. I've been on a short break to London with my wife. It's been my granddaughter's birthday. I've been downswinging on GG, not downswinging on the other side, but downswinging on GG, which pissed me off. But we are getting right back into it now. After the end of this video, I'm going to play a 3-hour session, maybe even a 3.5-hour session. I'm just looking forward to getting stuck right back in to the grind. I'm out of here. Please do get in touch if you want some coaching or you just want to join the Discord and get involved in some private discussions with me. If you don't, good for you. Take care and bye-bye for now.